We can receive gifts in many different ways. I mean, we could just be simply blessed. He doesn't want to just simply bless us. But here's the point is this offering, this gifting, this giving, he's giving us something. Oh my gosh, here we go. He's giving us something that requires us to do something in order to receive the full benefits out of. Oh my gosh, because here's the point of the gifts. Here's the point is that just the mere fact of having them, you don't receive the blessing from the gift. You have to use them in order to receive the true blessing and abundance from the gift. I can't just sit here and say, this is fantastic. I can heal people. I can speak in tongues and then not do anything with it and feel the blessing from the gift. So we are only able to extract the blessing from the gift when we do the work with it. This is beautiful. This is divine design at its utmost perfection. Welcome to Ignite the Spark Within, a podcast designed to do just that. Ignite your spark within you. I'm your host, Sarah Malone, owner of Spark Fitness and Lifestyle Coaching and voted Yahoo Finance's top 10 female coaches to follow in 2021. I believe everyone has a fire inside them, a powerful purpose, a story waiting to be told, and everyone can uncover and unleash this power. Every day you have the choice to either let your experiences shape you or take control and use your experiences to shape the world around you. You were made to experience happiness, freedom, joy, purpose, love, passion, and abundance. Disrupt the status quo, think for yourself, and join forces with those around you doing the same. Join me for thought-provoking conversations along with the strategies needed in order to help you ignite your spark within. Well, welcome back to the show, everyone. Welcome to Ignite the Spark Within. I am so excited for today's episode. It has been timely and it's something that I'm extremely, extremely passionate about. And I know God is going to bless you. I know you're going to be blessed through this episode. Hey, if you are a first-time listener or a new listener to my show and this information brings you value or blesses you in any way, would you please do me a favor and just rate the episode or rate the show on Apple or Spotify? This just helps bring more awareness of the show. And it also helps to show supporters or potential sponsors, hey, we have listeners, we like this show, and it allows the continuation of this, and it's the feedback. I ask for no monetary value from you whatsoever. But if you are a regular time listener and you've been listening to my show for quite some time now, I do invite you and encourage you. There is a new subscribe button. It is a members access only. It is literally $5 a month. And what this does is it puts you into a group, into a community that I've already built out. It allows you early access to the shows and the opportunity to join in after the shows live for a Q&A with either myself or if we have a guest. So really cool feature. And at the most, it just helps to continue to support and continue this show. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Sarah Malone, host of Ignite the Spark Within and owner and founder of Spark Fitness and Lifestyle Coaching and Spark The Secret Place, now located in Sedona, Arizona. I'm very excited to be with you today. We are talking on the topic today about spiritual gifts and the song of the universe. Universe literally means one song. So I want to share why this is so important of an episode and a topic to dive so deeply into. When we talk about gifts, we think it's quite straightforward, but it's in fact very deep. And the importance of this message being relayed now more than ever is because we are in a very unique and interesting time in humanity, in Earth's history, right? We all know what's going on for the most part if you've been paying any attention. And suffice to say, this can produce and induce a lot of fear in us, right? We hear in more frequency and in rapid succession natural disasters, wars, explosions, all of it, all of the darkness that humanity is capable of is kind of coming to the surface. And if we're not careful, we can fall into the trap of frantically running around and getting sucked under that undertow of fear, and the end times are coming. And it's like, everyone's talking about the end times, the end times, the end times. And I'm not going to say one way or the other which way I believe. I don't think it matters, because I think what's the most important, instead of talking so much about the state of the world and the end times and revelation, which is all very important, we should be arming ourselves with this knowledge, right? But what's more important is that we understand why we were created at this specific time, in this specific place, for this specific series of events. I think that's what people are missing in all of this. And that is what my prayer and intention is with this episode today. We are talking on the topic of the universe, meaning one song, which requires different notes and to play in harmony if we are to play the song right. And that brings me to the topic of spiritual gifts, or if you're not spiritual, which I think most people are these days in some way, shape, or form, at least they think they are, gifts, period. Okay, so what we will cover and discuss in this episode is, what do our gifts have to do with anything? Basically, meaning purpose versus calling. There's a very clear difference between purpose and calling. We're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into how our gifts add to the harmony of humanity, this one song I referred to. How do our gifts contribute to the one song? What are our gifts? What are the spiritual gifts? And then what are ours, more importantly? How do we distinguish which ones are ours? How do we know when we're trying to use a gift that's not ours? Or how do we know if we're mismanaging our gifts? This is huge. This is huge. How to fully experience the joy and the fulfillment from playing and using and maximizing our gifts, and how to find our calling in the midst of all of this. So let's just dive in. This is something I'm extremely passionate about. So first and foremost, we need to discern between the difference between our purpose and calling. We need to discern the difference between purpose and calling. Okay, so purpose is virtually the same for all of us. We all have one shared collective purpose. What is that purpose, you may ask? All, and I mean every single human being, all of us, our purpose is to move God's kingdom forward towards more of heaven on earth, but rather, because that's too big of a task and that's not possible for us. Hate to break it to you, it's not possible for us. We can only do our part. All of our purpose is to bring God glory. That's it. That's it. It's to bring God glory and share that word, share that light, share the light, be the light with the world. That is every single one of our purpose. Okay. We can't say your purpose is different than mine. It's not. It's all the same. We all have the same purpose. However, within that large overarching purpose, because that's a big task, right? Bring God glory, and move God's kingdom forward. Whoa. Okay. Within that big purpose, we each have a different calling. And this is where our gifts come in, right? We each have a different calling within that overarching purpose. This is where our gifts come in. Our gifts, check this out. Oh my gosh. Our gifts will lead us into the direction of our own individual destiny, dharma, whatever term you want to call it. It will lead us in the direction of our own individual destiny. Our own individual destiny. And each of us have a different type of destiny, but the same outcome. Oh my gosh. So check this out. We all have the same outcome eventually, right? Right? We all have the same destination, but our destiny is different. Okay. Our destiny becomes, oh my gosh, this is so good. Our destiny becomes fulfilled when and only when we are good stewards with our gifts that point us in the direction of our calling, and we follow that. Our destiny, our destination is not predisposed. It does not necessarily mean we will achieve or experience our destiny. That is not a promise. It has never been a promise from God, the universe. It's never been a promise that we will reach our destiny. This is why free will is so important. Okay. We are offered this experience. It is presented to us on multiple occasions, by the way. I mean, think about how patient God is to continue opening doors, even though we're blinded at times to even see that a door is opening into our calling and we ignore it. Or, oh my gosh, we mismanage it and we accept less. And I'll talk about accepting nothing less than excellence later. But here's the point that I want to make in this portion of the talk is destiny is not predetermined. Destiny is designed and intended, but it is not promised and predetermined. Okay. The only thing that is promised is salvation on the other side, should we choose to accept the truth with a capital T of who has saved us, Jesus. Okay. I mean, that's great. That is beautiful. That's a beautiful promise. But why should we stop there? See, many people, they experience, their awakening and they come to accept Jesus, or they learn about God and they say, well, I've received my promise. I have now what does that do? What does that do? That puts me in a posture to say, I'm already saved. What is my driving force to continue to now show my thanksgiving in using my gifts? Okay. Here's the thing. God will have his way, period. So the outcome will be the outcome. The question is, do you want to take part in that? Okay. So if let's just say, okay, here we go. Let's just say, okay, we can use a Bible reference, but I'd rather use a human reference in case you're unaware or misinformed or your knowledge isn't at the level of the Bible. Okay. So let's take that out of it. Let's just do real world application. Let's say a farm needs to be created and cultivated. Okay. Let's say a farm needs to be created and cultivated for a society or a community to survive. And he keeps tapping on Frank's door, on Frank's heart. Move, Frank. I need you to create this. I need you to build this farm. I need you to build this farm. Okay. The farm still needs to be built, but Frank isn't responding. So what happens? He's not going to continue knocking on Frank until his destiny is fulfilled. He's going to say, well, I'll just go find somebody else. I'm going to go find somebody else who's willing. Oh my gosh. Who's willing to listen and trust that I will work through them. Okay. Who knows what Frank's excuses were for not getting up and beginning the farm? Okay. Silly example, I know, but it at least paints the picture of what I'm talking about here, and it helps get the point across. Okay. So who knows what Frank's excuses were for not wanting to or not being able to produce the farm. The point is that in that posture, Frank was only looking at his own capabilities or maybe his own desires, his selfish desires. Okay. But the farm needs to be built. So when the time comes that you're presented your opportunities and you're not listening, you don't hear, or even worse, you hear and ignore and say no, then God's going to go find somebody else. And it's nothing against you, but it's to say, I need this done. And God says, my path to getting it done, my first choice is to do it through you. Oh my gosh. And if you really think about that, think about the beautiful opportunity that is, that he doesn't need us. He doesn't need us. He chooses. That's his first line. His first choice is to allow us to be a part of that, to have purpose, to have calling, to have impact and effect, to partner with and collaborate with the divine in creating what he wants to create. Okay? So he doesn't need us. It's a gift. And that's where we kind of go into this talk about when you hear the term gift. I think it's my perspective that when people hear the word gift, they think that it's, oh my gosh, they think that it's like, here you go, I'm offering this so that you can enjoy it. What we're missing is the purpose of the gift. Okay, it's definitely a gift. It's not, though, just for us to enjoy. I appreciate my listeners enjoying the candid conversations I have with coffee in my huge mug. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, you see me with this mug every single week doing this podcast, and I just love it because it allows me to be natural and have conversation with you, which is what I feel like I'm doing. So this offering through the form of gifts, which is a beautiful concept, by the way, because we can receive gifts in many different ways. I mean, we could just be simply blessed. He doesn't want to just simply bless us. But here's the point is this offering, this gifting, this giving, he's giving us something. Oh my gosh, here we go. He's giving us something that requires us to do something in order to receive the full benefits out of. Oh my gosh, because here's the point of the gifts. Here's the point is that just the mere fact of having them, you don't receive the blessing from the gift. You have to use them in order to receive the true blessing and abundance from the gift. I can't just sit here and say, this is fantastic. I can heal people. I can speak in tongues and then not do anything with it and feel the blessing from the gift. So we are only able to extract the blessing from the gift when we do the work with it. This is beautiful. This is divine design at its utmost perfection. Because in one way, we have done nothing to deserve the gifts that we are given. We haven't done one single thing right, anyways, to deserve those gifts. That's the whole point of a gift. It's just given. It's just given. But, 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 he says, but with this gift I give to you, you will not experience the blessing until you discover how to use it for the benefit of others and thus receiving the benefit for yourself. And the dichotomy to this is that when we are in absence of the intention or desire to receive blessing from using our gifts, meaning we are using our gifts without the intention of saying, okay, if I want to receive God's blessings, I need to use my gifts. No. That's not giving. That's not serving. That is manipulation. And let me just say this right off of the bat. You can't, that doesn't fly. Because in the realm of what we're talking about spiritually, all of that is seen. You cannot hide. You cannot hide the intentions of the heart in the energetic and spiritual world in which God exists. You can't. In fact, what is manifest in your life, what is manifested in your life is a result. It's a direct result of the intention and state of your heart first, not your actions. You can go sit on the street in a state of purity, peace, and love, and just watch everyone with love. And you can see how you're blessed because people see you, they feel you, they come up, and lo and behold, you are presented an opportunity to use your other gifts. Okay. Or you can work 50, 60, 70 hours a week with the intention of saying, I'm going to work and use all of my gifts so that God will bless me, or so that I'll be blessed. Let's just take that out of it. So that I'll be blessed and receive half of the harvest in which you're planting. Okay. Your fruit will not be plenty, basically, is what I'm saying. You will not reap a great harvest. All of that toiling with a polluted heart. And polluted is even too strong because it's not that you're dark or bad, but it's that there's an intention to get before you're able to give. Okay, not the other way around. When the intention starts with, oh my gosh, I feel so abundant and so grateful that I just want to give and show my appreciation by cultivating and growing and using my gifts. Check it out. Then, oh my gosh, then we understand because we are so blessed on the other side of that. And I want to point out too that blessing, when I'm talking about blessing, I am not talking about success or money or fame and recognition. You know, I'm not talking about the worldly view of a blessing being poured out. All right. I've known so many people who are successful. They've got huge home. They've got all these things. They've got multiple cars. They've got more than they could possibly need. And they said, I think that this is just God's way of blessing me for being so good and doing his work and serving and being faithful. And I say, no, it's not. No, it's not, because he doesn't work like that. He doesn't say, here's more things. Blessing is a state of the heart. And maybe there are people out there with many, many things, large homes and great extravagant physical worldly things. right? And that is a reflection of God's blessing. My point is that we cannot look to outward appearance as a means to define or identify whether or not we're on, oh my, whether or not we're on the right track morally, spiritually, and emotionally. We cannot look to outward appearance. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to say it again because it's so important. We cannot look to outward appearance to define or decide whether or not we are on the right track morally, spiritually, and emotionally. This is not a good indication. It's not a good indication. It's faulty. It's on faulty ground. We must look deeper. You know how you know when someone's blessed? You know how you know someone's blessed? When they're in a constant state, for the most part, because we're all human, of joy, of giving and generosity, of peace, of gratitude, of being morally upright. Okay. They have integrity. They have value. And they give back. That's how you know if someone's blessed. And then if they have all those things on the other side of that, you can say, wow, they're really blessed. That's great. But as a matter of fact, we are not promised blessing. We're not. Not in a physical, worldly sense. We're promised blessing internally. This is what I define as abundance. Abundance is a state of the heart. It's not a state of your financial status. Abundance is a state of the heart in feeling like you are so grateful that you feel like you have more than you need, because all of us do, honestly. We have more than we need. And it's always provided somehow for us, right? And I don't just mean financially provided. I just mean when you ask for companionship, someone or something shows up to keep you company. When you ask for peace, someone or something shows up to give you some peace. Maybe maybe you lose your job that was stressing you out so much. You asked for peace. Here, I'm going to take away the number one stressor for you, so you have more quiet. You ask for patience. You get a rowdy toddler to help you learn what patience is. Okay. Abundance is a state of the heart. It is the absence of the feeling of lack. It is a state that has zero feeling or sensation of lack within it. It is the feeling that says, I have abundantly more than I can ask for physically in a world sense. And I'm so grateful. I'm expounding with this inner gratitude and joy from all that I have, that I'm just in a constant state of pouring out, because you realize, oh my gosh, you realize that in that state of abundance, what you have is inexhaustible. Okay, check this out. Oh my gosh. And we're going to talk about exhaustion with your gifts in a minute. But in the state of abundance, you come to a place to know that it is not possible for you to exhaust yourself, because what you have inside, which is the state of abundance, is never ending. It's inexhaustible. Love is inexhaustible. It doesn't run out. And if you feel like it is running out, then that's your first indicator that it's not true love. Oh, I'm sorry that you had to hear that, whoever that was, but that's the truth. Okay. If it's exhausting you, it's not true love. And that can be a whole other podcast for a different day. But getting back on the topic of our gifts. Okay. UNI-Verse, one song, right? We are to play this one song of humanity. And it's important that we each play our note, right? Because we each have a note. We each have a note. And when those notes, think of a song, when those notes are out of tune or out of time, think about what that song sounds like. It's off. And if a lot of notes are off, woo, we don't even have a song anymore. We just have noise. We just have clashing cymbals, sounds. We just have noise. And it's like, oh, stop. Okay. But here's the cool thing is when we are playing our note, it's very enjoyable. We are here to enjoy life and serve. Like those two things go hand in hand. Like when you're playing your note in the universal song and the one song, think about how good that feels. You're like, yeah, I'm playing my note. Like this feels good. Okay. So when we talk about service, we're also talking about enjoyment. They're the same thing. They go hand in hand because true service is fulfilling. It's rewarding. It feels good. It feels good. And so service then is abundance. Like when we talk about abundance, it's so funny. I mean, someone just asked me today, what is abundance to you? And I was like, it's so funny. I'm going to talk about it on this podcast. And so serving and abundance to me are they're two sides to the same coin. You cannot have, this is the thing, you cannot have abundance in the absence of service. You just can't. You just can't. You can have surplus and acquisition, but you will not have abundance. It's just not possible. It's just not possible because, like I said, abundance has nothing to do with your physical status or your physical achievements or acquisitions. This is not about acquisition. It's not about acquisition. It's about the state of your heart. And in a state, an internal state of service, you will experience abundance. Think about this. Think about this. I'm not saying that, is it possible for us to constantly stay in a state of abundance? I'm not sure. I'm not sure because we're human and we have selfish, we have a selfish disposition at our core. We just do. You know what I mean? We do. And so when life is happening, it's very dynamic. Is it possible to ebb and flow in and out of this state of abundance and true service? Absolutely. Absolutely. So first of all, grace, give yourself grace. We have grace. We were given grace. This is the whole purpose of grace, because we're fallible and we won't always be in this state of abundance and true service. But should that stop us from pursuing that? I don't think so. I think we should constantly be on the pursuit of that level of greatness, of that level of abundance, of that level of continual gratitude, thanksgiving, and service. Okay. Because on that pursuit, we grow in our ability to serve from the heart, to remove more of ourself, invite in more of the divine presence of God. And we become and experience greater and longer spurts of this state. Okay, so do we just sit there and say, well, I'll never achieve it 100%, so I'm just not going to try? Well, achieving is relative. And we could say that we are achieving it as long as we're growing in it. And so we should be on this pursuit of an abundant life. And my point with all of this abundance talk is that oh my gosh, we can only experience the abundance that is available for us when we are serving in our own unique way, using our own gifts. I'm going to use an example here. This is a real example. This happened a couple of weeks ago. Okay. I live in Sedona now. And there are a lot of quote unquote healers and quote unquote spiritual guides and spiritual mentors and spiritual gurus. And we can go on and on about this. This is something I'm very passionate about. But I heard him say, he used the name of Jesus. Okay. A lot of them do. They reference Jesus as like he was the best healer of all time. Like he did so many, he healed to thousands of people and was a great example to us. And it's like, okay, like, yeah, that's okay. Where are you going with this? And then he says, Jesus said that you will do all these things and more. Speaking in reference to the healing capabilities that Jesus had. You will do all these things and more. Using that as basically a preface to say like, hey guys, you can heal like Jesus, just like how I am. And so we can all heal like Jesus. And this is exactly what led to the topic of this podcast, because inside I said, no, no, no. Okay. There's a strong discernment with me when I'm just like, my insides go, no, that is, first of all, yes, like he did say that. That is truth. But let's think about the context of what he meant. Okay. First of all, who he was talking to, directly to his apostles, number one, first and foremost. And the apostles specifically had very specific and extraordinary supernatural gifts of healing that none of us do. Sorry. That's how it is. That's the truth. That's the truth. Go back and read it, Mr. Whoever that was. And if you're going to quote scripture, if you're going to quote the Bible, if you're going to talk about Jesus, then you should know the facts and you should say the whole story, who he was talking to, that he was assigning them supernatural gifts of healing to carry on his work. And within that, we were all designated certain gifts. Okay. Not everybody. Okay. Here's where we go. Here it is. Here we go. Are you ready for this? I can go to the instrument store, if that's what they're called, and buy a violin. I have access to the violin. I have a hand, I have a neck, I can hold it. And I begin playing the violin. And maybe I even learn, maybe I take lessons, okay? Or any instrument. That does not mean that I'm supposed to be a violinist. I can go buy a piano and learn to play. But I'm not Stevie Wonder. Okay, here we go. Do you see what I'm saying? Is we all have access to the same core gifts, but not all of them are meant to be our gift. And so when someone says something like this about Jesus saying, you will do all these things and more, you will heal like I healed. That is not what he's saying. That is not at all what he's saying. He dispersed gifts. He dispersed them. Okay. Gifts, or we'll just say it like this. Gifts were dispersed amongst us all so that we can play our unique note in the universal one song. The gift of healing, it may be available to all of us, but if it's not your gift, you're not going to heal people. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The gift of healing may be available to all people, but if it's not your gift, you're not going to heal people. Period. Even if you believe, well, that's a topic for debate. Okay, we have to be very careful nowadays, and this is why I'm starting to come out more about this, because We have to be very careful to discern. You see, the way the enemy works is to take 98% truth and then alter it 2% to make it a lie. Okay, this is why I just said, half truths are still lies. You can't say just because there's truth in there that it's true. No, 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 no. It's 100% or not at all. And so you can't say Jesus said, you will do all these things and more, and then be like, well, I'm going to raise people from the dead and move mountains and part seas because Jesus said that I will. He did not say that. And that's where we have to be real, real careful using discernment, knowledge, wisdom. Okay. All right. So, spiritual gifts. Let's talk about them. So, what are yours, right? So, let me just first list them. Let me list them. And let's just take for my neutral listeners who haven't, who are just kind of getting into this flow. We're just going to call them gifts. Okay. Here are the list of gifts available to people. The ones, actually the core ones that we know of and can list verbally at this time. Okay. The prophecy. This is like the gift of, prophecy, knowing the future events, knowing what's going to happen. The gift of serving. That's quite self-explanatory. The gift of teaching is kind of what I'm doing right now. The gift of exhortation, meaning this is like Tony Robbins, right? He's great he's got the great gift of exhortation. Like he gets people motivated and he gets people excited. Okay, giving, self-explanatory. Leadership, self-explanatory. Mercy, this is the internal wiring within. Honestly, it should be most of humanity to have the gift of mercy that says, even though you deserve a harsh punishment, I'm having mercy on you and I feel for you and I don't want you to go through that. Wisdom. Okay. These two are, I want to decipher the difference between wisdom and knowledge. Okay. Wisdom is something that comes from within. Okay. It's a deep wisdom. This is a gift of mine and I can't explain that one. Deep, deep wisdom that just understands the bigger concepts, the bigger, universal truths. Knowledge is obtained. Knowledge is something that you have the ability to, and this is not mine. Okay. I'm going to be straight up with this. Knowledge is actually not one of my gifts. Wisdom definitely is. Knowledge, I can't remember facts. This is somebody who can take in a lot of information and absorb it and retain it. And, and they're very good holders of knowledge. Okay. Faith, again, goes hand in hand with trust, goes hand in hand with works. Tongues is a different language, the gift of tongues, another gift that I have. Interpretation of tongues, not a gift that I have. But this is the gift of tongues is very spiritual. It's very beautiful. And it's another language. And then the interpretation of tongues would be someone who can interpret that different language. Discerning of spirits, meaning light from dark. And seeing spirits. I've got many seers in my community. Thank you for your assistance there, by the way. Many seers. Apostleship. This is basically, spreading the good word. Helping, self-explanatory. Administration. This is like doing administrative tasks, being very organized, logistical. Evangelist, similar to apostleship in the way that, but evangelizing is more like proclaiming. Okay, apostleship is like really that stewardship, that one-on-one, that fellowship. Evangelist is like proclaiming. Very similar to pastoring and mentoring. I think we all can picture a pastor, but more importantly, pastoring and mentoring is being able to lead groups in that way. Gather and lead and unite and inspire and excite groups. And then the gifts of miracles. Definitely have seen that in my time. And the gift of healing, and another one that I've seen in my time. So here are the gifts. And I'm sure you've already started like, what are mine? Like putting yourself like, oh, I got that one. And this is great. Like, this is the time to be a little bit, I don't want to say cocky, but like own it. If you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, I got that gift. I mean, chances are you're not going to have all of these. Okay. All of us most likely do have some overlap. Like, for instance, I would pray and hope that we all have somewhat of a gift of mercy. Okay. We have a gift of mercy. We have a gift of serving. We have a gift of helping. We all want to do this. Right. But it's like, how do we do that? It's like, what will differ is how we present or live out that gift. How do we live out mercy? How do we live out serving? How do we live out helping? Okay. These are some examples. And so I'm asking you, you know, which ones do you think are your gifts? And remember, there's a human tendency in all of us to do this thing where we hear a gift and we want it to be our gift. Okay, this is real talk. Oh, this is so good. Okay, we hear it and we're like, I want that to be my gift. So I and then you look for examples or ways to say like, see, that is my gift because I did that. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about like what are our true gifts, and I'm going to go over in a moment how to know if it's your gift or not, or maybe just how to decipher between if it is your gift and you're just mismanaging it, or it's not your gift. Period. Okay, but before we go there, I want to repeat the fact. Okay, all of us, all of these gifts are out there. We all have access to these same gifts, right? But we are not all wired for them specifically. Okay. We're wired for something very specific. This has to do with our calling. Our calling will be directly in line with our gifts. We will not be called into doing or creating anything. I'm going to be very clear about this. We will not be called into doing or creating anything if it doesn't have to do with our gifts. You will know if that calling is coming from the true source or not, depending on if it uses your gifts in a way to better humanity and God's kingdom. Okay. This has nothing to do with selfish gain. This has nothing to do with, well, I want to make $1 million so that I can have a home and my family can live with it. I mean, great. Like, good for you. I'm glad you want to provide for your family, but that is not, that is not, that is not the purpose of these gifts. So that was not a calling from God. That was a desire of yours. And you're just interjecting and saying, well, I can use my gifts to do that. Maybe. Okay. So I want to be very clear about that. But here's another point I want to make. You will not one single person will have all of these gifts. Okay. Not one single person will have all of these gifts. Why? Because we need each other. This is the beauty of humanity, being connected and collective. We need each other. We need each other's gifts in our own life. This is how the giving and receiving happens, the giving and receiving. It's reciprocity, right? And additionally, here we go. You cannot use your own gifts on yourself. You cannot use your own gifts on yourself. This is the whole point of connection, of community. We are not meant to use our own gifts on ourselves. I learned that lesson this past year coming out here. I've been connected with some beautiful souls who I was, put in a position where it's like, oh, okay, it's time to receive, Sarah. You have been, I'm just being transparent with you. It's time to receive, Sarah. You have spent 7 years now pouring, and to some extent exhausting myself, which means I'm going to put myself on the chopping block, which means I wasn't in love all the time. I wasn't. I was in survival. I was in I love humanity so much, but I was pouring, and I wasn't receiving. Okay. This is the point, is I can't use my gifts on myself, but I will be presented with people and opportunities to receive that healing. That's the blessing. That's being provided for. That's what I'm talking about abundance. I said, I'm in a state of exhaustion right now. I need rest. He sends me to a mountain with a lot of time to rest. I said, I'm in a state of loneliness right now. I need companionship. He sends community and friends. And sometimes not, sometimes him. Okay, this is what I'm referring to, is we do not have all these gifts, nor can we use our own gifts on ourselves. Now, I also want to preface that these gifts we think of on a kind of a worldly, watered down version, right? Because we are brought up in a world of either religion or like magic, voodoo, satanic, occult practice, spirituality. Okay, so here we have these two opposites, extreme opposites. Religion says like your gifts are just for, if you have administration, you're just supposed to be like a manager. Go be in like an executive manager and take care of tasks. And or of mercy, just do the obvious thing, which would be like go be a I don't know, go be a judge or something. I don't know. Or on the other side of occult practice spirituality, we have using the gift of miracles and healing and exhortation, even teaching and leadership, as a means to do magic and connect with other spirits and past ancestors, and to abuse the gifts. Okay. So I want to come to the middle with that and say, number one, these gifts are not just meant for managerial, finite, limited to a career type of roles. I also want to point out that these gifts are not to be misused for flagellation or self-importance or um, or worse, when people know that they're leading you into the darkness. Okay, these gifts can show up through us in times that have nothing to do with our career or our work or whatever. Okay, that's not the purpose of them. The purpose is not to give you a career. If that happens, then great. And actually, that's a double whammy. But our gifts are for two purposes. Let me go here. There are two purposes for our gifts. Our gifts are for others. Okay, our gifts are for others. And with this, it means that we have a responsibility to opening ourselves up to use them when and where we are called to. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. Our gifts are for others. Therefore, we have a responsibility to open ourselves up to listen. Basically, it's just about listening. To use these gifts where and when we're called to. This could be at the grocery line, at the grocery store. This could be in traffic. This could be sitting in the car with your screaming 2-year-old in the back and demonstrating one of your gifts. Okay, this is constant. This is all the time. I say eyes up a lot. Eyes up, ears open. Or I should rather say, instead of ears, heart open. Okay. Eyes up, heart open. Know when it's time to use your gifts and use them. And number two, our gifts are for us. Okay. Because again, going back to this, we experience deep, rewarding fulfillment when we are using our gifts. I can't tell you how many times I've used and been put in a position to use my gifts with someone or in a situation that had no monetary value whatsoever. I made $0. But like in that moment, I felt so abundant. I felt so like overflowing. I felt fulfilled. I felt love. I felt this deep, deep satisfaction. And I was like, I don't care about doing my taxes. I don't care about like my checking my bank account. You know what I mean? That's abundance. And so we may be called to use our gifts at any time, at any time. And when we do that thing where we're like, oh, I just don't have time for this right now. I don't have time. I'll talk to them later. That is seeing the door and not walking through it. Okay, again, this is part of this is part of that gracious and generous gift, that we are allowed to. It's not like you were bestowed this great capability and gift, and like that was the gift. The gift is the gift is not getting it. The gift comes in giving it. This is the generosity. So how do we know if it's truly your gift? You may have picked out a couple of these, and how do we decipher? How do we decipher if it's truly your gift, or if you ever find yourself, which I'm sure you will, in a place where you're mismanaging your gifts? Okay. So number one, our gifts should not wear us out. Our gifts should not wear us out. If they are exhausting you, it's not your gift. It's not a gift. It's not a gift. It's not a gift. Okay. We may be in a place where we're mismanaging ourselves, and like I did, like I found myself outpouring too much, not being conscious of my own internal state, and running into the issue of exhaustion, and then giving from a place of seemingly lack. Okay, giving from a place of 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 obligation rather than desire. Okay, and this is a bad place to be. It just is. It's a bad place to be, because should we find ourselves giving and in this state almost of worn out giving, A, there is a lack of love, but B, we begin to, oh my gosh, we begin to actually experience and shift the relationship uh, towards our gifts of like, I don't want this. I don't want to do this anymore. Okay. Then we associate. Here's the problem is we misinterpret this, and we associate. So we associate and we misinterpret. Oh my gosh, here it is. We misinterpret our mismanagement of the gift, and instead we see the gift is bad, or the gift is not my gift. Okay. So if we're not careful, if we're mismanaging our gift, we can be deceived in thinking that because we mismanaged it and it's causing us harm, then now either that gift is not mine or the gift is bad. And this is a great way for the enemy to creep on in and push you off of your calling towards your destiny. Because you think, well, I just need to find something else to do then. And then what happens? You stop the pursuit of your own calling, because you've misassociated, I should say, misassociated that the gift is bad or not yours because you mismanaged it and find yourself in a state of exhaustion. Okay, this is number one. So if we are consistently getting worn out, it's time to ask ourselves the question: is it my gift, or Or am I trying to obtain a gift that is not truly mine? Meaning like if I see Jennifer Lopez and I see how happy she is, and I think that in the way to get that happiness is to like do what she's doing, and I end up exhausting myself because I'm forcing myself to try to do something that I'm not equipped or wired to do, then it's not my gift. And I'm trying to force myself to play a role play a note that is not mine to play. Okay. Or are we just mismanaging it? Because that could be the case too. So a great way to do this is just to take a pause. Check yourself. Check the state of your heart. Check your heart and take some rest. Take some real rest and analyze. Only you have the answer to that. Okay. You know that it's not your gift when you find yourself comparing the importance of your gift to someone else's. Well, I should rephrase that. It's not that you know that it's not your gift, but you know you're not tapping into your own gifts when you find yourself comparing and saying, well, Andrew Huberman teaches and his podcast has like 6 million views. But I'm only doing this. Or I've only been volunteering. You know, their gift is better than mine. There is no better or worse. There is only yours and there's only theirs. And so be careful not to find yourself in a place where you're comparing the importance of your gift versus someone else's. Or you start comparing yourself with someone with the same gift and where you think their level is versus where yours is. Impact is impact, baby. And the job will get done. Again, the job will get done. And so when we can remove our desire or our expectation or idea of what it should be like, or the level of physical success we should see, then we can truly tap into the impact of our gifts. You know, when we can seek impact over recognition, when we can seek impact and fulfillment over numbers and perceived effectiveness or perceived impact. Okay. We know we're out of alignment with this when we are using force rather than trust. Because listen, in all of these gifts, let me just say this, in all of these gifts, your job is to use your gift. The rest is up to God. And so if you think you're more important than you really are by saying like, I'm going to be the reason that this person gets saved. I'm going to be the reason that this company gets saved. I'm going to be the reason that, put a name on it. Put a name on it. We are trying to force something to happen on our terms and timetable in order to feel like we are being effective. The truth is, the completion of whatever your gifts are designed for is not up to you. Oh my gosh. I'm going to say that again. The completion of whatever it is your gifts are designed for is not up to you. You are simply there to do it. The outcome's not up to you. You're not called to save someone, save a company. You're called to use your gift. Period. When you're doing that, things happen. Whether it's what you wanted to happen or not, things happen. And that we can determine as God's will. Oof. Ooh, that is good. That is good. So it's called trust. It's called trust and saying, all right, I'm going to do my part. Then God's will have its way, because it always does. Okay. You also are out of alignment if you think that you're better than someone else because of what your gifts are. Okay. I'm arrogant and conceited if I think that because I'm on this podcast right now, I'm better than you who's listening. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And so is arrogant to say that they're better because they have a bigger home and more money than me or than you. It's ridiculous. So we're out of alignment when we begin to position ourselves of higher importance over someone because of what our gifts are, or because of how we've grown in our gifts, okay, our effective use of them. Everyone is just doing the best that they can. And not to mention, that has nothing to do with us. Nothing to do with us. We shouldn't even be focused on that. Okay. Most importantly, I want to highlight this. Healing is an inside job that comes. This is what I was referring to, that it's not our job to do this. Healing is an inside job that happens with the help of others, not because of them, or because of me, or because of any healer. That's why we're all here together to share our gifts. And that's part of that connection. This is like the same healer that said that previous comment about we should do all these things and then more, also said he wants his goal to be that people come to him to receive healing and they don't have to do anything outside of their time with him. And if you're watching this, you can see my facial expression when I even say that out loud. I said, what? That is not healing. That's you positioning yourself as a savior. Okay, let us be real. Even Jesus didn't do that. Even Jesus asked something or required something of the people that he healed before or after healing them. They still had to do something. And the point is that inner healing is inner for a reason. It requires you to grow and to do some sort of work on your own in order to complete the process. Any one of us who has a gift of healing is only there to ignite, direct, and take away what's needed at the time. But to say that it's just done, that's not how it works, baby. Not in the human realm. Nope. There's only one that can do that. And so the point I'm trying to make is that healing is an inside job. So there's two sides to that. Number one, if you're the one seeking healing, do not come to my door or any other healer's door and say, I need healing, give it to me, and I'm going to be all better. Sorry. You're going to walk out feeling good, and that's going to come right back. It's just the way it is. Come in with that heart that says, show me, help me, heal me, and you will be healed. Okay. Healing is God's job. We're just helpers. That's it. And a matter of fact, he doesn't need us either. So if you really are going to be completely healed, you will be, because God will choose that. Okay. That's what happens between you and God alone. We're just here to help and share. And that's the collaborative effort. So beautiful. All right. So I know this is a long one. Ooh, it's so good. So how to play our note? Let's just talk about it. Number one, excellence. Okay. This is where I was talking earlier in the episode about the standard of excellence. You see, anything less than the standard of excellence in stewardship and cultivating and growing in our gift is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. We cannot sit there and say, I have achieved the level of success that I want in this world, and therefore I am okay with that. I'm okay with that. Mm-mm. And I know a lot of people out there, a lot of faith or religious based people out there that are like really just they just sit on the sidelines and say like that the um humble spirit is blessed, and then they just sit back and they accept far less than excellence in anything that they do. And I'm just like, that is blasphemy, because we are called to excellence. As a matter of fact, what type of example would we be? What type of example would we be if we accept anything less than excellence? So we should constantly be pursuing excellence with our gifts. And that's just constant cultivation and gifts and having a high standard. Okay. Having a high standard. Um, how to fully play our note is number one, to don't play anybody else's. Just play yours. Just play your note. Just play your note. If you can't say I'm a finger, but I want to be a pinky, and try to be a pinky. Like, you're not going to be a pinky, number one, and you're just going to disrupt the body by trying to do that. Okay. So play your note, and seek constant growth. We are, again, back to excellence. We are doing a disservice to our gifts if we are not discovering new ways and expanded ways to maximize our gifts. Okay. Again, thinking outside the box. Number 4 is you can use your gifts in a way that has nothing to do with your profession. If you find yourself in a position when you're in a career or a profession or a work or a job that you don't feel like you're using your gifts, number 1, I want to encourage you, you can use your gifts everywhere and anywhere. It doesn't matter what your job is or where you are, what your career is, or what your bank account is. You can use your gifts anywhere and everywhere. Okay. But number 2 is you can also find other ways of branching out of just your job or your profession to use your gifts even greater and even deeper. Okay. Another way to use your gifts fully is be ready and be open to change and flexibility. Okay. If you feel called, here's the thing about calling. The calling is a direction. It's not a path. It's not a concrete path. It's very fluid and it winds, and you may be called in different directions in different seasons, and that's okay. Maybe you've been doing one job for your entire life, but now all of a sudden you feel called into a new arena. Go. You got to listen. Be willing to change. Be willing to change. I want to remind you that most often your gifts are used in those small, seemingly insignificant, and seemingly random moments that have no monetary reward whatsoever, but they make the biggest impact in someone else's life and thus in your life. So we've got to strip away our worldly view of what success, what blessing, what being able to use our gifts looks like. We were given these gifts. We didn't do anything to deserve them, nor did we get to choose them. It's not like we could say, here's a list of gifts. Like, on my pad, I want that one. I want that one. And I definitely want that one because that'll, like, people will really love me for that. We don't choose them. They're bestowed upon us because there is a direct calling towards our destiny with them. Again, different than purpose. Calling is our individual destiny. Not everyone achieves this. Not everyone reaches their destiny. It should be a pursuit of us. But these gifts are our responsibility. They are our responsibility. We can't just take them in and say, thank you. It's like we have a responsibility with them to steward them properly and with excellence. Now, this is really important. God does not take away your gifts. So we will never be in a position to say, if I don't use these, they're going to be taken away. He's not going to take away your gifts. Your gifts are yours. Well, they're not yours, but they're his. But those are yours, okay? but he may limit our opportunity to use them should we fail to cultivate them by listening or use them in a way that defiles his purpose or that is becomes self-serving. Okay. And sometimes that simply looks like a lack of joy, lack of purpose, lack of abundance. All right. This is taking away the fruit of the gift. Should we choose to become self-serving with our gifts? Again, just a state of the heart. And so as we wrap up, you may be finding yourself in a position asking yourself, well, what is my calling? I know my gifts, and now I know our purpose, but what is my calling? And I'm going to say this is if you took nothing else away from this show, let it be this. Your calling lies at the intersection of these three things. Ready for this? Your gifts, your passions, and your discontent. Yes, discontent is good. It's that thing that you see or think about or witness that you're like, you can't not do anything about it. Okay. So these three things, it's going to be the intersection of these three things, your gifts. So what were you made for? What were you hardwired for? What were you hardwired for? What are your passions? What are you genuinely passionate about that you would do even if you didn't get paid money for it? Like this podcast is one for me. This is something that I did and do without any reward, from money, because it's a passion of mine. It is a true passion. And I'm using my gift of teaching, of mentoring, of multiple other things. And number 3, your discontent. My discontent for hurting people and the pain that comes from not having discernment and proper knowledge when it comes to some of these things, these topics. Okay. That's how I know I'm in my calling. That's how I know. Because I can't not do anything about it. And I'm so passionate and I'm using my gift. That is how you know you're in line with your calling. Okay. And then maybe multiple things. Again, it's just a direction. It's just a compass. It's just a needle. And so you can find yourself that needle is shifting or pointing in different directions. You can ask yourself that question. Like, is it pointing me in the same direction as my calling still here? Does it check off these boxes? Am I using my gifts, my passions, my discontents? And then check yourself, double check it. So it's good to double check your motive in that. Because I can say this podcast, it checks off the boxes of my gift, my passions, and my discontent. But if my motive is to receive the appearance of being smarter than I am, or recognition, or fame, or whatever, then you see what I'm saying? So here's my point, guys, in all of this. In this time when humanity is hurting, we're in pain, we're in chaos. Number one, there's only one that can save us. So that's both good. And it's actually very encouraging and empowering to know that, like, we don't have to really do anything to save humanity. Remember that I just said that, by the way, when next year, when the solution is presented to us to save humanity, remember, you don't have to do anything to save humanity. Please, please, please remember that. You are not in charge of saving humanity. No man is, period. Okay. But, and here's the big but. No pun intended. Here's the big but. We are called to run the race, fight the good fight. And what that means is play your note. Play your note and play it well. Play it damn well. And now's the time to double down on that. That's why we all need to start playing our notes. So instead of focusing on all the fear and what's going wrong and it's the end time. Great. You know what? Arm yourself with the knowledge, but don't stay there. Then turn around and say, that's all the more reason to double down on figuring out what my purpose is, what my calling is here, and doing that. How do we do that? We use our gifts. We use our gifts to advance the kingdom here on earth right now, during this time, in this place, with our direct surroundings. Okay, we all have a circle of influence. You can't go out there and say, I want to change the world when you can't even change your home. You can't go out there and say, I want to change the world if you can't even work on yourself. Okay, so we got to go inside first and make sure that we are in line with ourselves first. It's an inside job. Simply. Our gifts were given as a way to advance the kingdom, period. That's it. It's that simple. It's that simple. You don't have to look very far into it. And so playing this UNI-Verse, this universal song, means that we all must be in harmony. So if we want that to happen, we cannot sit there and say, you're playing your note off. I need you to do this, that, and the other thing. While we're playing off key too. Okay. Focus on your note. Focus on playing your note and playing it well. That's all you can do. Because rest assured, this message and many others and the move of the Spirit is going to speak to those other notes that are playing off and get the job done or not. And that's not up to you either. So when all this chaos is going on around you, and the hardest thing to do is to focus on yourself, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Because when you're maximizing your gifts, you're able to play your part. And then, and this is the exciting part, then there's hope. Then you feel at least like, okay, if the end of the world is coming, at least I'm doing my part. And the real hope comes to say that if the end of the world is coming and you are saved, then you have real hope because you won't have to experience the pain of that. So there's great news. There's great news. There's great news around the corner. And it's so, so, so important that we each play into our gifts and seek ye first the kingdom of God. And all of these things that you want, desire, and more will be given unto you. More importantly, you are promised salvation and safety in that. That's the most important part. Okay. But we don't want to just take that and say, thank you. We want to give back. And if it's really that exciting, we kind of want other people to learn about that too. That's why I'm using my gifts that too. It's because there is beautiful, beautiful hope in this time. And the only reason we would run around in frantic fear like chickens with our head cut off is because we don't know what that hope is. Blatantly honest, that hope is Jesus. Blatantly honest. I'm blatantly honest because I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious. I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious. But the one name that is going to be the make or break in all of this is Jesus. I'm going to say it again. Okay. And so if you are scared, please hear that hope, have that hope. And if you are not scared, please hear my call to action to empower you to get up and do more. I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out. I'm calling on all of the warriors that were put here for such a time as this to get up, rise up, and let's go. Double down. Because we have a celebration to get to. I love you all. Please, please share this episode if it blessed you. It certainly blessed me, like I said, because I was using my gifts. So very, very important times that we're in. Please, please, please share, rate. Until next time, I love you guys so much. And I'll talk to you on the next episode. Be well. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ignite the Spark Within. If this podcast brought you value, or you think it would bring someone else value, please hit that share button. My mission is to reach and help as many people as I possibly can. And you just never know who could use that one good piece of information. And hey, if you have any topics, discussion questions, or ideas for future episodes, you can reach me directly at sarah@sparkflc.com and just write podcast in the subject line. And if you haven't already, please rate the podcast on your favorite podcast channel. This helps bring awareness to the show. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you're alerted for all future episodes. Please go ahead and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're interested in pursuing coaching for yourself, you can visit sparkflc.com for more information.